How many dementia patients could have gotten help sooner if someone had just noticed the change in who they were becoming? Because when a loved one starts acting like a different person, their brain is often already changing. In this video, you'll discover 7 disturbing personality changes that often go ignored, but quietly reveal that something deeper is going wrong in the brain. And if you catch them early, you may be able to act before their memory ever fades. Let's get started. Number 1. Sudden hostility toward loved ones. Charlotte was 70 when her family started noticing something was off. Once known for her calm, nurturing energy, she began lashing out at her family. She accused her daughter of talking behind her back, snapped at her grandson for laughing too loudly, and told her brother to stop spying on her phone. These outbursts came out of nowhere, cruel, cutting, and completely unlike her. For a while, the family blamed stress or medication, but over the next year, the hostility became more frequent and more vicious. The moment that finally moved her family to act was when she called 911 on her own dog for eating her favorite pie, when there was no dog in the house. That's when they finally realized something deeper was wrong. Charlotte was soon diagnosed with frontotemporal dementia just after her 75th birthday. Experts confirm that sudden, unprovoked anger directed at close family can be an early sign of dementia. As the frontal lobes begin to break down, the brain loses control over emotion, impulse, and empathy. Small frustrations feel overwhelming, and instead of managing them, the brain turns to aggression. What makes it so painful is that it strikes the very people the person once cared for most. New dementia videos daily. Feel free to subscribe. Number 2. Coldness toward children or grandkids. At 76, Jerry had always been the kind of grandfather who lit up around his grandkids. He was loved by everyone. But something changed 2 years before his diagnosis of Alzheimer's. He started sitting alone during family visits. When his grandson ran to hug him, he didn't smile or open his arms. He just stared at the wall and said, "I'm tired." The family told themselves he was just slowing down. Maybe he didn't sleep well, maybe he wasn't feeling great. But the distance kept growing, and the warmth never came back. Then came the moment that finally shook them. His grandson gave him a handmade card, and Jerry didn't even look at it. He just said, "Put it on the table. I don't even know you kids," and walked out of the room. That silence broke the illusion. That day, his family finally sought for professional help, and they deeply regretted for not acting sooner. Researchers have found that emotional withdrawal from close family is a critical early marker of dementia. As sensory regions of the brain are damaged, connecting with even the closest loved ones becomes harder. When the brain's wiring fails, warmth turns to indifference. It's not a lack of love, it's a loss of access to it. Number 3. Paranoia about being watched or followed. 2 years before her diagnosis of Alzheimer's, Helen, 81, started making strange comments about the neighbors. She said they were up to something, that they kept looking in her windows to spy on her. At first, her husband brushed it off, thinking she was just watching too many crime shows. But things didn't stop there. Helen began closing all the blinds, unplugging the TV, and whispering when she talked on the phone. Once she even put tape over the front-facing camera on her tablet, saying, "They can't see me now." The moment that finally pushed them to seek help was when Helen refused to go to her own brother's funeral. She claimed it was a trap, and that someone wanted her out of the house so they could go through her things. That's when the family realized this wasn't just anxiety. Something was happening inside her mind. Many studies show that irrational paranoia and misinterpreted threats are common in early dementia. As the brain's reasoning and memory systems decline, the person may begin filling in the gaps with imagined fears. Everyday coincidences become conspiracies. Privacy becomes obsession. And because the person truly believes they're being watched, No amount of reassurance feels safe. But only if you catch the warning signs early. Most families don't. They brush off the changes, blame aging, or wait for memory loss. But dementia often starts with subtle shifts in personality, emotion, behavior, like the ones you're seeing in this video. And once the brain starts to break down, time becomes your most limited resource. So if something feels off, don't wait. Let's keep going. Number 4. Sudden cruelty or insensitive humor. At 72, Frank had always been known for his dry wit, but never at someone else's expense. That changed abruptly. He started making mean-spirited jokes about his wife's weight, mocking his grandson's stutter, and laughing when a delivery man slipped on the sidewalk. When friends confronted him, he shrugged and said, "It's just a joke. Don't be so sensitive." His daughter thought he was just getting bitter with age, but over time, his humor became more cruel. The moment that finally crossed the line came during a family gathering, when Frank loudly joked that his son-in-law should go back to remedial school with the rest of the idiots. That night, the family agreed. This wasn't the man they knew. Over time, Frank's memory loss set in, and he was diagnosed with mixed dementia nearly 2 years after he began acting strange. Neurologists note that the ability to read tone, context, and emotional boundaries can break down early in dementia. When the brain loses its filter, social cues no longer register. Jokes become cruel, remarks turn sharp, and the person may seem unaware that they've hurt someone, even as the damage is already done. Number 5. Unexplained jealousy or possessiveness. 3 years before her diagnosis of Alzheimer's, 69-year-old May started acting strangely toward her husband. She accused him of flirting with the cashier at the grocery store, checking his phone constantly, and even asked if he had another family she didn't know about. At first, it seemed like insecurity, but it kept happening, over harmless glances, friendly conversations, even family gatherings. Her daughter thought maybe May was feeling lonely or threatened by aging, but the accusations kept coming and got harder to ignore. The breaking point came when May locked the front door, hid her husband's shoes, and demanded to know where the red-haired woman lived, insisting she just saw him wave from the driveway. There was no woman, and he was working in the backyard. That's when her family knew it was time to seek help. Research shows that damage to the brain's areas that regulate perception, emotional reasoning, and trust can distort how people interpret everyday interactions. In some dementia cases, it leads to intense jealousy or paranoia toward loved ones. It's not suspicion. It's the brain struggling to tell real from imagined threats. Number 6. Emotional detachment from life events. When 80-year-old Tim lost his sister, the entire family gathered for the funeral, except him. He said he didn't feel like going, and when pressed, he just shrugged and said, "She's gone. Nothing I can do about it." His son assumed it was grief showing up in a different way. Maybe Tim was just avoiding emotion to stay strong. But the emptiness didn't stop there. The turning point came when Tim barely acknowledged his grandson's wedding. He didn't dress up, didn't say congratulations, and sat in the corner scrolling through his phone. When asked what he thought of the ceremony, he said, "It was fine. I don't even know why I have to be here," and went back to watching sports highlights. That moment finally convinced the family to seek help. Tim was soon diagnosed with vascular dementia, nearly 2 years after his sister's funeral. Neurologists have observed that as dementia begins affecting the brain's emotional regulation centers, a person may lose their ability to feel or express emotional depth. Joy, sadness, pride become muted or absent. These aren't mood swings. They reveal emotional circuits in the brain may fail well before memory does. Number 7. Self-sabotage or sudden recklessness. At 77, Janet had always been good with money, budgeting carefully, clipping coupons, and saving every receipt. But one day, she told her daughter she was canceling her auto insurance because nothing matters anymore. A month later, she gave away her wedding ring to a neighbor's kid, saying, "I won't need it where I'm going." Her family didn't understand what she was thinking, but they brushed it off, caught up in their own busy lives, and the behavior only kept getting worse. The turning point came when Janet packed up her old wedding dress and tried to board a Greyhound bus, saying she was going to marry the man on TV. That moment shattered any remaining doubt, and the family called the doctor immediately. Janet was diagnosed with frontotemporal dementia just 1 year after she first tried to cancel her insurance. Studies suggest that when dementia impacts the part of the brain responsible for judgment and self-preservation, it can lead to risky, irrational, or self-destructive decisions. These aren't cries for attention. They're signs the brain no longer weighs consequences, and the internal compass is fading fast. These personality shifts may not look like dementia at first, but for many families, they're the earliest sign that something deeper is breaking down in the brain. If someone you love is starting to act like a different person, don't brush it off. Because with dementia, the sooner you act, the more time you might save.
And there you have it. What are your thoughts? Next, dive into this video for more essential tips to transform your health and help you thrive. You're going to love it. Thanks for watching Healthy End, and we'll see you there.